What do you think is a fair way to critique the Cardinals over the last 4 days because we've been off? Look, the Cardinals weekend against the Rockies was another bad weekend. You lose 3 of 4. It's this stretch against bad teams where you didn't play well really against any of them, and you thought you were going to be able to run it up against these teams. But then you go ahead and you play one of the best teams in baseball in the Giants, and you win game 1. Now let's go ahead and win the series, Cardinals, to prove to Cardinal fans, hey, we could potentially be a contender. You also have the Cubs. You could finish off the first half with some nice momentum against a really good Giants team and a Cubs team that is really floundering here recently.
I don't care what happened last night or yesterday. It's not acceptable. I'm almost to the point, guys, where I'm just like, this is embarrassing where this franchise is going with this. You were not good enough against Colorado, a place where runs are scored. You could only score a couple runs in most of the games. That's just not good enough for me. And the fact they won yesterday. Don't forget they were no hit through the 7th inning yesterday. It's not like they came through on a couple the guys in the backside of the bullpen. But you're 9 games out of first place, and you just came through a stretch of really bad teams where you're supposed to make up ground, and they're still 2 games under 500. I'm just to the point where right now they're just awful. They're awful in helping solidify the team. Again, they're finding more guys off scrap heaps of other teams going, well, this isn't going to cost us anything. Let's bring this guy over. See if he can get us through a couple. I mean, it's just one, I hate to use the word cheap, but it's one cheap maneuver after another. There's nothing really significant to try to even help this team at this point.
So go ahead.
What would you want them to do, though? Like, what would if you?
They waited too long. That's my point. They waited too long. They just sat here and watched it burn, and it's too late to fix it now.
And they thought it was going to go. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's still just the way the frustrations just set in. If you're a fan now, you're like, what? Well, you really want to give me an opportunity to come watch them play and get their brains beat out by the Giants and Cubs next time they come to the park? It's like, no thanks, I'll pass.
Yeah, I think when you bring up Wade LeBlanc, for example, I have, because that's what you're talking about, just getting some other guys, some journeyman types.
The guy they picked up from the Nationals, they're throwing their bullpen this week. They picked up Waddle, Miller, that's his name. Yeah, all those guys. It's like, okay, these guys aren't going to do anything for you. You're just trying to get an arm that's healthy, and that's a Pirates move. That's not a Cardinals move.
Hey, the Pirates one took the Nogfather from us, John Nagowski. No, see, I understand why the Cardinals have made those types of moves. And I say that because I don't think this 2021 Cardinals team is going anywhere special. So I understand why they're not going to go for a rental. Now, if they could get a player where they have control beyond 2021, I understand making that deal. But my issue is more to what Jim said, which was even Wade LeBlanc. You could have used a guy like that 2-3 weeks prior. And that's where the Cardinals really did let it burn for the month of June. And if the Cardinals don't make the playoffs, and remember, they have an uphill battle right now. They are 9 games back in the Central. They got the Cubs ahead of them. The Cubs, though, have lost 10 straight. Cubs have lost 10 straight games. They're now 1 game below 500. And I actually think that's for what the Cubs want to do organizationally. The Cubs didn't want to go for it. They have all these position players that are free agents. It makes more sense for what the Cubs wanted to do the next few years. This is actually, I hate to say it, it's the best thing to happen to the Cubs for them to lose 10 games because they didn't want to try to add at the deadline. They can now ship off some of these parts and look towards 2022 and beyond. But the Reds have won 5 straight games. The Reds are 4 games over 500. They're 6 games back. The Brewers went crazy. I know they lost the last couple games, but they had the huge winning streak before that. So the Cardinals are 9 games back in the division. They're 7.5 games back in the wild card, which that's not crazy in terms of the Cardinals are 42 and 44. They played 86 games. So how many left? You got about, 70 or so games left. Could you make up 7.5 games? I mean, sure, teams have done that. It wouldn't surprise me if Flaherty and Michaels come back, if the Cardinals can go on a nice little run. But here's the other issue. Look at the wild card. The Cardinals are basically tied with the Phillies. They've played a different amount of games, but they both have a .488 win percentage. So they're 7.5 games back. You have Atlanta, they're also in that three-way weird tie because they've all played a different amount of games. But Atlanta, Philadelphia, Cardinals are all 7.5 games back of the wild card. The Cubs are 7. Washington is 7. Cincinnati's 4.5. And you're chasing right now the Dodgers and the Padres. So the question to ask is, even if the Cardinals get hot, will they get hot enough not only to make up 7.5 games, but to surpass the Phillies, Braves, Cubs, Nationals, and Reds? You'll have to surpass all of those teams and then snipe a team like the Padres.
Not happening.
Right?
You're right. It's not happening. The only way they get in is if they find a way to win this division. And right now, they just keep falling further and further and further away. 9 games is unacceptable. Now, the Brewers are playing good. I get it. They went through that stretch, much like the Cardinals in the month of June, where they played a lot of bad teams. They made up their wins there. Cardinals did not. I mean, they should have been at least above 500 coming out of that, and they weren't. And that's where the biggest, miss. It's a miss. It's a fail, and that's where it's going to fail. You're going to circle the month of June and go, opportunity was right there, and you did nothing but sit there and watch, and you just watched it crumble a little further each day. That's where the frustrating point is. There was an opportunity to hang around and keep it close with Milwaukee, but they didn't do it. They can tell me all they want about everybody asked for Nolan Gorman. Well, yeah, I'm sure they all asked, but there's a negotiation side of trying to get some help. And one more thing. Yeah, maybe not rentals for this year, but, man, they got to start with the process of building for next year at some point. I mean, as the rest of the lineup just crumbles in terms of production and getting less and less and less, you're going to find you need more holes. You need a hole at shortstop. You got some questions. I love Yachty, but Yachty's numbers are going down fast. I love Dylan Carlson, but he's struggling right now, and I think he's there for the long haul. But that's all a process of, wow, we need more offense in a lot of places for this baseball team to get better. At some point, they got to address it. And this is not a franchise, guys, that goes out and says, I'm going to sign 5 free agents, bring them in here to fill all the holes. That's not going to happen.
And that's
where they're working their tails off, though.
They're working their tails off.
That's what I've been told.
They're watching video. All right, guys are working out. It's all good. No, that's where even Wade LeBlanc, who, by the way, I understand when the Cardinals sign Wade LeBlanc, you know what the reaction is going to be on Twitter, and it's exactly what you thought. Oh, okay, hey, now we're going to the World Series. Hey,
yeah.
Hey, Wade LeBlanc season. Okay, now we're contenders. Everybody understands, and I know some of those people are joking, and I joke about it too. But Wade LeBlanc is actually a great move. I hate to say it's a great move.
Yes.
But here's the problem. Wade LeBlanc pitched his first game for the Cardinals on June 17th. You should have made the deal for the Wade LeBlanc types. You could certainly make the argument that, and let me check the math, but I believe it was May 22nd. May 22nd was Michaelis. Okay. When Michaelis goes down, you start to okay, that's 20% of our rotation. 9 days later, Jack Flaherty goes down. I mean, now you have a problem that you can no longer ignore. 40% of your rotation. By the way, remember, KK also gets injured for a short period right during that time. Now, KK was great last night, but he was also on the shelf for 10 days. Mm-hmm. At that point, you absolutely needed arms, you needed innings, you needed somebody like a Wade LeBlanc or two to give you some length. And even Wade LeBlanc, he didn't make his first appearance with the Cardinals till June 17th. And that's where the Cardinals absolutely did let it burn in the month of June. And it would not surprise me one bit if the Cardinals, if they're able to win 2 of 3 from the Giants, this Cubs team right now is just absolutely reeling. It would not surprise me one bit if the Cardinals are able to win 4 out of 6, headed into the All-Star break, and kind of keep everybody interested. And, okay, we beat a couple contenders. Let's see what happens. And that's here mid-July. But when you really look at the 2021 season, I think you're going to look at the month of June, and they didn't help the team until it was too late. And you look at the back half of June, basically after they swept the Marlins, and I know we should all cheer that, after they swept the Marlins. But you look at basically starting.
Today. It's crazy.
I'm half kidding. I'm like the mayor. I'm like the mayor of Tampa.
Oh, Cucky's on me.
I'm always half kidding every time I say something. But basically starting June 17th, you lose 3 of 4 to the Braves, which is a team just like you. At least get a split in that series. You lose 3 of 4. You lose both to the Tigers. Now, by the way, the Tigers are actually playing better the last 2 months, but still, you got to at least win one of those games.
They weren't even competitive.
Oh, they got smoked. 8-2 and 6-2 in those games. And again, the Tigers, there's something like 30 and 23 the last 50 or so games. So the Tigers are playing better. I'm bending over backwards to try to make excuses for the Cardinals here, as you can tell. And then the Pirates. You lose 3 of 4 to the Pirates. And then you go ahead and you do sweep the Diamondbacks. Okay, the Diamondbacks are a very, very bad team. You have the last 3 games there in June. But look at the stretch in between Marlins sweep and Diamondback sweep. And it's losing 3 of 4 to the Braves. It's losing both to the Tigers. It's losing 3 of 4 to the Pirates. And then spin it now into July, where the first series in July, you lost 3 of 4 to a Rockies team. All those series I just mentioned, it should have been flipped. It should have been the Cardinals taking 3 of 4 from the Rockies. It should have been the Cardinals taking 3 of 4 from the Pirates. It should have been the Cardinals at least splitting with the Tigers. It should have been the Cardinals at least splitting with the Atlanta Braves. And that's where you've now dug yourself a hole. It is really hard to chase 9 games. And I bet you know what? It would not surprise me if the Cardinals come August, they're right around 500, right? Let's just say best case scenario. Flaherty comes back. Michaelis comes back. Would not surprise me one bit if this team finishes 5 games over 500 and they have a nice run in the last 50 or so games. But still, it'll probably be too little too late.
And yeah, I don't know. I'm not even that optimistic at this point. I just think they're just going to flounder out of control. They can't score any runs. We know the pitching's been bad, but they can't score runs to save their life right now. And it's really awful. That's where the frustration part just set in with me over the weekend, guys, because it was like,
I like it, Jimmy. I like when you're riled up.
It really is.
Get him.
It was the holiday weekend, and a lot of people were asking, "Hey, what did the Cardinals do?" I go, "I don't really care. I didn't watch today." It's like it didn't matter. They've been so bad. Somebody, man, how about Bader's grand slam? I said, yeah, okay, I give him some points. Rondon gets the hit. They go to extra innings and win the game. But after that, we're watching one of the games. I think it was Saturday night. They can't score any runs. I go, yeah, I know. I'm not going to sit here and waste my time with it. I'm just going to go do something else.
We went through this last year with the Blues. Charlie, remember we get on the radio and I'm like, ugh. Remember they went through that spurt where like they were just terrible, and it pisses you off, and you're like, we got to break this down. Like they didn't get the puck out. They're going through that same thing. But I get what you're saying, Jimmy. Man, you're chilling out. Everybody asks you those questions. You're like, yeah, they did this. I don't know.
Why are they doing this? Man. Why are they? I don't know. They're just not very good.
No, shut up, damn it.
That's true.
Let me enjoy the fourth.
That's true. They just aren't that good.
Yeah.
I do think though the numbers on the jerseys. The names on the jerseys and the numbers on the back of the baseball cards, especially offensively, should be better. That's where I know Paul Goldschmidt has been better, but Paul DeYoung, you mentioned Yachty trailing off, which that really shouldn't surprise us either. He is 39 years old. I know Dylan Carlson after a hot start, even Tyler O'Neill lately, right? I mean, he's been dinged up and he gets beamed every other game, but you have a lot of guys who are also kind of trailing off some hot starts there. Look, that Rockies series, I was actually very excited for. You hear the comments from Nolan Arenado about he didn't know if he was going to be booed or not. And he was having some anxiety going into that game. Now, obviously, they give him a great ovation. You had a packed house for a lot of those games. You had the fireworks at Colorado. It was cool to see that ballpark with a lot of people there. I 100% thought that Nolan Arenado was going to have a moment. Because just like opening day, when opening day at Busch Stadium, Nolan Arenado was the guy everybody was there to see. They gave him the ovation, even though there was only about 13,000 fans. He hits the home run. It was so fitting at Busch Stadium opening day for Nolan Arenado just to own that moment. And going back to Colorado with a 4-game series, so we're talking 4 games and probably 20-ish plate appearances to have a huge moment. I was very surprised that he didn't.
Yeah, that's a good point. You were waiting for that one thing to happen. It was cool to see his ovation, though. You're right about that. That was pretty awesome because I think he wouldn't admit to it, but I think he was a little on edge about what was going to happen.
No, he was. He said he didn't know he was going to get that. He thought he might get booed.
And I think it would have affected him if he would have been booed.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, man, I thought we would have been better off here or would have received a better ovation here. But that was cool to see him get welcomed. That's for sure.
And he pops a couple up. How pissed off is that, though, when you're a batter and everybody's watching you and all you want to do is show off to, the crowd that, was backing you for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You try to just bash when you pop it up like that, and he's just like, I remember my dad doing that whenever I'd come watch him in softball. He'd pop it up. He'd be so mad because you're just trying to kill it.
Yep.
I don't know. He was pissed.
You wonder specifically with Nolan Arenado. You wonder if that did, and it had to. You wouldn't be human if it didn't. I think going back there did affect him in the sense, and I'm not blaming the only reason that he didn't have a good series, but if you go and look at the games there, in the 4 games, he was 0 for 4. He was 1 for 4 with a run and a walk. He was 1 for 2 with a double and 2 walks, and he was 0 for 4. And then first game against the Giants here, he goes 2 for 4 with a run and an RBI. So I'm not saying it was specifically because of that, but watching that pregame, which I did, and you can go to my YouTube channel and check it out. It's 18 minutes long. You could definitely tell that he didn't know if he was going to get cheered or booed or 50-50. And he said he loved Denver and he loved the fans, but he wanted to win. I mean, it's a family to him. The guys on their side are brothers to him. He knows that the fans didn't love the way it ended and him wanting a trade and kind of leaving them. So the fact that he did get the great ovation, but also I would have to think that was affecting him mentally throughout the weekend. Because, Cam, you know this. If you play against your former team, everybody knows he's a stud. And he was named the all-star starter at third base. We get that, but you still want to prove it to them right there. You want to have that huge 2-run double. You want to have that 2-run homer to win the game. And I think he was probably pressing a little bit.
No doubt about it, dude. And leading up to it, his buddies are texting him. He knows people in the stand. Like, there's a lot more little things that all tie together, and you just want to go for it, man. Or, you want to get a good fight, or whatever the case is, whatever sport you play. But, yeah, remember I always said, like, well, those are your – people always ask, and people understand, like, you play against your old teammates. Like, don't you – why would you be so aggressive with your – don't you like them? Like, well, yeah, but you want to – if you played against your buddy, you want to be all over him, man. Like, oh, that's just a competitive edge that you have. So, yeah, he was thinking a little too much pride. Okay, the Cardinals are heading for a 5-7 year tailspin where we will consistently be one of the worst teams in the league because it appears the magic is gone. From the old Mound City, the management, player development sucks, but that's still not as bad as that stupid mayor from Tampa and her stupid little old lady face saying the little cute things she did. God makes me angry. He's on and on and on. Let's see. Nothing changes till Moron, Gersh, or Schilt are gone. I believe he said the Moron one was John Mozeliak, which is not very nice to do 605. Don't be like that. Dude's a very smart guy, although he does have a sweater on his neck in July.
I always think it's funny that people go after Gersh. And the only reason I say that, and look, I understand. If people want to change, that's fine. I understand that. I get it. It's just always funny to me that people are like, oh, what's Gersh? He's got to go.
Yeah,
we all know that, look, back in the day, the general manager was the chief executive. They were the chief decision maker. And a lot of these front offices, most of them now, even Doug Armstrong, I know he has a dual title, but his title is also president of hockey operations. So if you want to change, I get it. That's John Mozeliak. He's the chief decision maker. And if you think he needs to go, that's your opinion. It's all good. I just think it's funny that people act like Gersh is the one that's really, he's pulling all the strings.
Doesn't make any of the, no, he handles.
But you know what? He's the second in command.
Contracts, but he doesn't make those decisions.
Yeah, no, not at all. Cucky chimes back in, given he calls you Huber, but it's Jimmy Heuer. I love Jimmy Heuer's passion. He's firing me up. Thank you. I needed that today, Jimmy. Heuer. I'm driving down to Tampa right now. That stupid old lady, a piece of my mind.
Drive safe, and I'm glad
I started a war. My poor girl's going to get it. Oh, gosh almighty, what did I start? Sorry about that. Serious question. Sorry about that. How's this? DeYoung has as many bad years as good years. Carp has been toast for 3 years. Bader's a marketing piece. Mo and DeWitt are shameful.
Okay, let's go person by person.
Okay.
100% agree with Carpenter. We all know that.
Yeah.
And that was a bad extension. He's still on the team. He gives you a big hit like he did last night every once in a while. We know he's not worth anywhere near the $18 million or $20 million, whatever it is. It is what it is. You signed that extension a couple years back. It has not been good. We all agree on that. Paul DeJong, I think that's also very fair. Paul DeJong, remember the All-Star year, where also the Cardinals had to have an All-Star. Now, he had 30 homers, but he batted .233. If he wasn't the only All-Star representative, Paul DeJong is probably not an All-Star in 2019. Let's be real. Since then, last year he hits .250, slugs .349. This year does have 10 homers, but he's batting .176. Batting .176, slugging .352. So absolutely, when you look at the numbers, look at OPS. Paul DeJong's first year, 2017, OPS of .857. Then it goes to .746, .762. So a little bit of he drops 100 points and it stagnates for a couple years. And then you go .671 OPS last year, .633 OPS this year. So 100% Paul DeJong is on a downward trend, and it has not been good whatsoever for the last, especially 2 years. Now, Harrison Bader is another person that I will defend more than others, because I think people with Harrison Bader, I know he was loud. I know they marketed him too early with the whole the king and being out there.
Ain't TJ Oshie.
Right. He's not TJ Oshie. But Harrison Bader still has tremendous value. And I say that because we all know, he's really good defensively. He's really good running the bases. And even compare him to Paul DeJong. I just mentioned the numbers of Paul DeJong. Last year, Harrison Bader had a .779 OPS. His OPS plus, which 100 is average, was .113. That means he was a better than average offensive player this year even. I know it's a small sample size. He's been banged up, 27 games. His OPS is .739. His OPS plus, again, the average is 100, is .106. He's actually a better than average player, slightly. And I understand he's not an all-star, and you can make the case he has not lived up to the hype. I know he's loud, he's got the hair, he's on Instagram. I get all those things, but still, he's not getting paid. So Harrison Bader is a pretty good value. I think people crush him too much. I understand why, Cam Janssen, because again, he likes to be out there with the outfits and everything. But from a baseball standpoint, he's pretty solid.
Then there you go. Absolutely. And he's been actually great lately too. And let him do his thing, man. And, you always want to back up what you're doing, and especially if you're a little bit loud. And that's sometimes the Cardinals' fault. And the Blues have certainly done that over the years, where they pump a guy up so much, and they're like, and he's just kind of like, it just, and sometimes you have to do it, man. But in this case, he's starting to live up to it a little bit. But yeah, man, you got to do what you got to do. If you dress nice, you dress nice.
Cam, anything else on your end before we take a nice little break here?
I would like to see Chuckles on some of Bader's outfits for his sports reports, dude. Me and you, we need to. We both honestly need to have some sort of workout routine. I wouldn't even want to buy suits right now. Bader looks so good in those suits. I'm gonna give him that, no doubt about it. And he's playing well. That's good. But I wouldn't even want to buy suits right now because I feel like I need to lose weight to do it.
Me too.
Then, I don't know. My body's all over. God, after this weekend, Charlie. Oh, God. Ugh.
Diet starts tomorrow.
I need to go do something today, man. I need to go do something today. Kate and I are going to go cruise around. Might go to Hawthorne Inn, which is a stupid idea because now I'm going to go eat more. Good Lord. That's what I'm going to do. We're going to Hawthorne Inn and eat more. Anyway, DeJong is straight up not watching the ball when he swings. I can see that from my lazy boy. How can a player and coach not?
He's just not watching
from
the ball.
The lazy boy.
He's watching. He's looking in the stands.
Yeah, he's like,
hey, there's
checking out.
There's
girls
the beer
in the
guy. Oh,
he's like a little
you're
leaguer.
out.
He's just kind of playing with dandelions.
I'm
out
craving
there.
one of them bush lots. Come on now, splashback. Get on with yourself. Geppetto Mozeliak needs to pull Pinocchio Gersh strings and get us a bat and arm and a hitting coach. That's Stevie in Ballpark Village. I'm changing her name.
That's the whole thing with the hitting coach too. I think we've gotten to a point. I don't know what the right word is, and I don't know if it's indifference, but for a couple weeks there, it seemed like Jeff Albert might get fired legitimately, and I think that would have been fair. And then John Mozeliak comes out and he defends him. But you had about three different series where you said, man, is this rock bottom, right? Whether it was Tigers, losing both. Whether it was Pirates, losing 3 of 4. You could even make the case where you go to Colorado. You lose 3 of 4. And so that discussion around Jeff Albert was last week, a couple weeks ago, and the Cardinals didn't do it, so I don't think they're going to. And I don't want to say that Cardinal fans and media don't care anymore, but it's almost an indifference in the sense that I don't think the Cardinals are going to do much this year. So whatever they do is fine, but they're certainly not going for it. They've already said that. All of their actions prove that. So if you want to watch the games and get your garden gnome, it's all good and enjoy it. But, hey, whatever happens, happens. The Cardinals are in a big hole right now. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. You never know. Maybe they get super hot. But do you see that happening with other teams adding? I don't think the Cardinals are going to add anything significant. We can make the old joke, hey, getting Michaelis and Flaherty back, it's just like a trade at the deadline. And it's going to be a nice addition. I just don't think it's going to be enough.
Cucky chimes back and it goes, Nolan Arenado just ran into his ex-girlfriend, and she's been working out and opening her mind up to new things. The gal he is with now is arguing about parking spots and spending a ton of time with her church friends. He's got to be mind-effed. Dang, that's deep.
Okay.
Just so everybody knows, that
Cucky,
was a joke.
like, yeah, but that would be like that would you could see that you could kind of put that scenario together like, you see your ex-girlfriend in Colorado, she looks great, and then your girl here is like hanging out with other people, and you're like, what do I do? Oh my God, Jesus, Cucky. Ooh, deep there. Splashback Chandler, you guys fund on me, but mid-pitch, he's guessing where to swing.
Well, that's what hitters, if you're bat speed, if you don't feel like you can compete bat speed-wise with the pitcher, if you don't feel like you can catch up to 95, you do have to guess. You're probably guessing fastball here and there. You're guessing off speed, depending on what a pitcher throws. A lot of guys are like that. Some people are guess hitters. If you can't catch up, and you can't compete and see a fastball and catch up with it and react to a breaking ball, a lot of these guys do guess.
What was Barry Bonds? What was he?
Well, he's just like the greatest batting
yeah.
eye plus the greatest bat speed
Swing.
plus the greatest steroids.
The greatest
allegedly.
of everything.
He's got one of the greatest swings, too, as a lefty. Why do lefties look so much cooler when they swing?
They are. They're just, it's a beautiful
It's
swing.
more classic look,
It
yeah.
is. Not in any other sport like with a hockey, like anything else, but with the bat stance, they just look a lot cooler.
No, they do. And it's
Harrison,
also the way
go ahead.
because you're on the other side of the plate, the natural swing path to drop your bat and then just run up the line. That's also more
right.
natural than you're right-handed, so all your momentum takes you to the left side, and then you have to transfer your momentum back in terms of running to first base.
I think what happens after they hit a bomb with their swing as a lefty,
Like Griffey.
you could just like wasa and just kind of trot. Where a righty like Albert just kind of like look boom, and he looks at I don't know. It's just there's more of a swag style as a lefty, a bomber like that. I love it.
That's why Griffey was the best.
Oh,
because
his
Griffey
stance, dude.
had the sweet swing. He took that beautiful swing. He didn't bat flip. He just, in his natural motion, laid the bat down, and his first couple steps, he walked. He just walked and watched it a little bit. Now, he didn't disrespect the game. He just watched it for a couple steps, but it was like the natural motion of the swing into a couple steps walking into your hop to start the trot.
Dude, I know exactly what you're talking about with that.
And one
Swag
hand would come
swing.
off the hand, one hand on the bat right behind him. Just like, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, the lefties are the coolest. It is what it is. Harrison Bader will be a better Paul Mitchell spokesman than a baseball player.
He would be really good at that.
He and
to be
Troy
honest with you.
Polamalu should be doing some kind of shampoo commercials.
See, Harrison Bader's OPS plus as a baseball player is 113. His OPS plus as a hair model would probably be 170.
Yes, easily.
Yeah, he's got some good flow, man.